Previously, we have seen how to create a Splunk Phantom playbook using this UI, right? And also we have seen how we can use a particular asset action in a playbook as well. So if you remember, we created this demo playbook, and there we actually called this particular geolocate IP from the MaxMind app to basically geolocate that particular IP address. Now from this video onwards, we will try to see how we can create playbooks using Python in Splunk Phantom. Now in this video, we will be starting with a very simple playbook, and then we'll be gradually updating it with some more different stuff, some more advanced stuff as well. Okay, so to start with, so let me show you the event we have. So I think we already seen it before as well. So from our data model forward, we have this particular event from this source IP address over here, as you can see it, which we have a single artifact over here. So if I just show you the event structure over here, so we have a single artifact over here with all the details of that particular event, like the event time, the source IP address, signature, whatever, different stuff. And in my last video, we have run a couple of playbooks on this particular event as well, correct? So now let's try to start from very fresh, like we will try to create the playbook fully from the Python and see what are the different functions are involved and different stuffs, and then we'll try to see like whether we are able to execute the similar stuff whatever we have done from the UI playbooks, whatever playbooks we have created fully from the UI or not. Okay, so Splunk Phantom playbooks are actually based on the Phantom playbook automation APIs. So if we just know about that API in detail, it will be fairly easy to create any playbooks in Phantom using fully in Python. And also another thing is that like whenever you will be creating a playbook fully in Python, you will be losing that visual editor over there. Okay, so that thing you need to keep in mind. So let me go to the Phantom playbooks page, and I'll just try to create a new playbook over here. So let me give it a name called first playbook Python. Okay, now if you see, whenever you will be starting creating a new playbook, the first thing is the visual editor will come into picture, correct? So now we will not touch anything over here. We will try to see everything in the Python. Now before that, as we did before as well from the playbook settings, we will just try to set up some stuff like what particular level it should operate on, and some category as well. Let's say this time I'll just choose uncategorized, and run as user, logging on or off. So I'll not make this playbook active now because we will be starting to see, or we'll be basically running this playbook from here itself to test it out. Okay, and also I have discussed all this different stuff like the logging, active, safe mode and draft mode in my previous video as well, so you can check it out from there as well. Okay, so first thing is I'll just save it. So I'll just say initial version, because every time you will be saving this particular playbook, you need to put a comment so that whatever commit it will be giving to the local repository, so this comment will be saved over there as well. So I'll be clicking on save. Now to basically edit this particular playbook fully in Python, if you see it over here, so there is a Python playbook editor link, so I'll be clicking on over here. Now if you see, like initially Splunk has given some codes all automatically over here, right? So let's analyze that one. So I'll just put okay, so before that I'll just click on edit playbook so that we can edit this particular script as well over here. Now as you can see, whenever I just put a enter or anything, I just try to edit this particular script, Splunk is saying, so edit full playbook, that means you are about to edit automatically generated code. So once you edit this, you cannot continue to use the visual editor. So that is fine for us, because we will be fully using Python from Python code to build the playbook. So that's why it is really important to understand what are the different functions are involved over here. Now if you see the initial stuff, the first line is very much important over here: import phantom.rules as phantom. So this is the basically the API I was talking about, the playbook API over here. So using this phantom, we can do a lot of stuff, like we can call an action, we can basically run an action and do different lot of stuff over here. So this particular line is mandatory over here. Now there are a couple of imports over here as well, like the JSON and the datetime, because mainly whatever object like the containers, artifacts we'll be dealing with, it's all in JSON structure. So that's why this JSON is importing JSON is important over here. And the datetime is for the datetime configurations and calculations, so which we will be using it later as well. So this is the import stuff. Now at bare minimum, every Python playbook, or basically the Phantom playbook, will have these two methods called on_start and on_finish over here, if you see it. So whenever a new event coming into Splunk Phantom, so whatever the playbooks are applicable for that particular event, so what Phantom does is basically for each and every playbook, first is called the on_start method, and when all the actions are completed, at last it calls this on_finish method over here. Okay, now these two stuffs, that's why it is important, this two method call. Now on_start, actually there is a parameter called container, so we need to pass a container over here so that it can work on that stuff. And on_finish will have two arguments, the container as well as the summary of whatever actions we have performed. So that summary it will be generating, and you can see that summary as well over here. Now initially what we will do is we will try to print the container over here and see how it looks like, and the summary as well to see how it looks like, and then maybe we will try to call an action from this playbook as well. So to print something in a Phantom playbook, so this thing you need to do, the Phantom whatever we have imported over here .debug, so you can print any of the debug message over here. Okay, so if you see automatically in the on_start event, it is printing on_start called, and similarly for on_finish as well over here. So let me try to print the container first. So I'll write something like phantom dot debug container. Okay, and over here I will try to print phantom dot debug, and I will be printing summary here. Okay, so you cannot run this playbook unless you are saving it. So let us first save our initial version of it. So again, you need to put a comment over here. So let's say version 2, and I will be saving it. Okay, now you can run the debugger. So you can click on over here, this Python debugger over here. Now as we have seen, our event ID is 2 over here, right? This is the container we just ingested, which has single artifact over here. So I will be giving the event ID as 2 only over here, and I already discussed this scope and run as current user in the previous video. So I'll just click on test over here. So if you see, it has first printed this one on_start called over here. If you see, all the debug statement will be in a separate color, if you see, and it also printed this container as well. And as expected, this container is a JSON object over here, if you see it, correct, with the container ID as 2, which we can see it over here, with the status as new, and how many artifact it has all these details, when is the last artifact updated, when is the container updated, everything it will be, what is the description of this particular container, everything it will be showing up over here as a JSON structure. So we'll see in future videos, we'll talk more about the containers and its JSON and see how we will be using these informations over here. But for now, at least we know how to print the container over here. And similarly, if you see it here, it printed the summary as well, like summary of whole actions, whatever actions it has performed. So currently it does not have any actions, that's why total action executed is 0 over here. And if you see it, like whenever we turned on the logging, it was automatically printing the same summary informations as well over here. Okay, so we saw how to print the container and the summary. Now let us try to see how we can execute a very simple action in Splunk Phantom. Now for that, we will just try to go to our apps page. Okay, so from this drop down we will be going to apps. So we will try to use our MaxMind app only. So it supports two actions over here. If you see, geolocate IP, and another is the test connectivity, which is for the testing the connectivity only, and it has a single configured asset called MaxMind over here. Okay, so now to see what this geolocate IP is having any parameter or not, you can go to this documentation over here for that particular app. And if you can see it over here, this MaxMind app has a method or basically an action called geolocate IP. This is the action name, and the parameter it is receiving is a IP address over here. Okay, so now as we are trying to build a very simple playbook, what we will do is we will hard code the input IP over here. Okay, now which format we need to give and how we need to give, how we need to call this particular method, let us discuss that one. Now Phantom API, the automation API, supports a method called act over here. So let me open that one. Maybe I'll be giving this link as well over here in my video description, you can check it out. So this is the act method over here. Okay, and it can be called from the on_start method or any callback of any phantom_act call. Now callback is very interesting feature which we will be discussing in very details as well. But let us try to see what are the different, basically the parameters we need to pass to this phantom_act method. Now this is the one, as we have discussed, is used to run any action. So the first parameter we need to give is the action name over here. Okay, this is the only required parameter for this particular method. And now rest of the parameters are like there is a parameter called parameters, which is the parameter for this particular action over here. Okay, which if we just tally around our MaxMind, so our action name is the geolocate IP and the parameter is the IP over here. Okay, and assets are basically, if you want to run this particular action for a particular asset, then you can pass the asset name over here. Even for each and every asset, you can create tags as well. So if I just show you for our MaxMind, so if I just go inside this asset one, if you see, you can put tags over here, like whether this particular asset is critical or not. So for that you need to create tags from the administration window as well. Okay, so then you can select those particular tags over here. So based on your scenario, you can create tags, and even you can run playbooks or action for those tags as well. Okay, so that purpose tags are used. So suppose, let's say I want to run this particular action for only those assets which are critical, then only so I can create a tag called critical and assign to that particular asset. Okay, so that whenever this action will be running, it will be running only for those assets which have that particular tags. Okay, so if you can give both the asset name and tag name as well. So accordingly it will be running for those assets which have those particular tags as well. Okay, now callback. So if I just give you a very brief description about callback, so it's basically used to run another action when this particular action is completed. Okay, it's a very basic idea about it, but we can do more about it, which we will be discussing separately as well. And there basically you can give the action name and all the details over here in the callback method. Okay, so and the reviewer is basically like if you have any reviewer for that particular asset and action, so here you can give the reviewer name as well, so that it will be before the action runs, it will be needing the reviewer approval for as well. And handle is basically whenever you have some kind of data which you need to pass it to this callback. Let's say you have some kind of global variables or something, so you do not need to define the global variable in your Splunk Phantom playbooks because their states actually does not maintain properly. So in those cases, whatever, if you want to pass any data to this callback, okay, so you can pass it to this handle as well. So basically, like callback, we can think of it as well, like suppose whatever action currently I am running, so let's say whatever output we are having from this particular action, we want to call another action with that particular data. So then you can, in the callback, you can give that action details, and the data part you can pass it to this handle over here. And start time is basically like when this particular action will be started. So you can give a time over here. Let's say whenever the event occurs, after the event coming to Phantom, after 5 minutes we want to run this particular action or playbook. Okay, so in that case, that start time also you can give it over here as a input. And in the name, you can give basically a unique name to this particular run of this particular action. And here also you can give the asset type as well. So in the asset type, basically you can pass the Phantom asset type for which you want to run this particular action over here. Even you can give the app context as well, like for which app this particular action will be running over here. So this is a very detailed view of the phantom.act, which is used to run a specific action from a specific app as well. Okay, so for our case, we will try to execute that maxmind app action over here. So whatever we are seeing it over here, this geolocate IP, so this particular geolocate IP, we will be trying to use it. So as we are doing it very simple playbook, so I will be calling this particular method in on_start only, but generally we create a separate method for this one and call that method in on_start. So what I will be doing it over here is we'll be following the same API details over here. So let's go back to our playbook. Now here we will be calling, so let's edit the playbook again. So we'll be writing something like this one, phantom dot act. So the first parameter is the action, correct? So let's copy that one. So action will be, so what is our action name? So if I just go to the documentation of the maxmind, so this is my action name over here, correct? So we'll be copying the exact name, so we'll be giving up over here. Now as this is the only one parameter, but geolocate IP also requires an IP address to run on, so that's why I'll be giving the second parameter as well, called the parameters. So if I just give parameters over here, now let us try to see what are the structure of this parameter. So if I just go to the documentation, so parameters requires a list of dictionaries that contain the parameters expected by the action. So that means it needs to be a list of dictionary basically. So first we will be creating a Python list, then we will be creating a Python dictionary, and in that dictionary what I'll be passing, for that we need to know the geolocate IP parameter. So it requires a IP address called IP over here. So this is how we will be passing. We'll be creating a key called IP and we will be passing a value over here. Now in production scenario and basically in normal scenario, you will be basically querying that container artifact and pass that IP address over here. But as we are starting with a very simple one, what I'll be doing it for now is I will be copying this particular IP address from my artifact over here. Okay, so let's do that, and in future videos we will be basically querying this one dynamically. Okay, so let's give that IP address over here. So we basically running this geolocate IP on this particular IP address over here. That's it. That is what we are doing it over here. So let's save this one and try to see version 3 and save it. So if we just run this particular playbook again on this particular container ID, let's click on test. So again, it's basically printing this container over here as well, as you can see it. And now if you see it, it basically executed that action as well on my playbook called on my particular event called geolocate IP with this particular parameter as well. And if you see, as we have seen in the previous video, it basically gives me the similar kind of output as well over here, like what GUID and what is the status of it and what is the message details of it. In future videos we will try to access this stuff as well programmatically, but for now we will just keep it as is. And also it is calling this on finish and printing that particular summary method as well with summary object as well over here. Okay, so we started with a very simple playbook over here. We understood what are the different imports. So basically what are the must have imports we need to have it over here. And we also understood like this on_start and on_finish is the minimum method you need to call in your playbook. And also we understood how we can call phantom.act to run any action. Okay, so initially we have given the hard-coded parameter. Now from the next video onwards we will try to make it more dynamic as well. Okay, so hopefully this video was helpful. See you in the next video.